A very warm greetings to all on this Teachers' Day. Today, I, Kavisha Alagiya from Department of English, MK Bhavnagar University, take an opportunity to offer a very short video lecture on Eugene O'Neill's one of the most ambitious play. So before we jump into this work of art, let us have a brief understanding of the writer himself, that is Eugene Gladstone O'Neill. Eugene Gladstone O'Neill is one of the foremost American playwrights and was awarded a Nobel Prize in 1936. He presented a very deep insights to psychological conflicts as well as of the human mind, as well as also reflected the very air of America in his works. Like for example, the Harry App also presents the capitalist mindsets of the Americans of that time. It is John Kessler, a notable critic, remarks that Eugene O'Neill is the height and the breadth of American theater. As a playwright, he has successfully depicted the struggle of a man with himself, with his existence of past and with his existence towards future. You must all be aware about the two principal complexes, that is Electra complex and Oedipus complex, which are occasionally reflected in the works of arts. But have you ever found the two complexes in one work of art? Surprisingly, in this play, Mourning becomes Electra, we have both the complexes as a parallel theme. This is a trilogy, and this trilogy can be called a continuation of Greek tragedy with a setting of 20th century, that is New England. The characterizations, the story, the plot, all of them are the reflections of ancient traditions. In the words of Lawrence A. Johnson, Mourning becomes Electra is a tale of ancient hatreds, illegitimacy, revenge, family secrets, and murder. Eugene O'Neill is known for his characters, their expressions, and especially stage directions in detail. Mourning becomes Electra is a tragedy, primarily a tragedy, as you can see. Furthermore, it is a continuation of Greek tragedy, so we can say that Mourning becomes Electra is also a Greek tragedy. Furthermore, Eugene O'Neill was a modernist playwright, of course. So, Mourning becomes Electra, his works reflects the age of his time. So, we can also say that Mourning becomes Electra is a modern tragedy, as you can see. Before understanding Mourning becomes Electra as a Greek tragedy or modern tragedy, we must first have a clear understanding of what is tragedy. Aristotle, in his classic work, Poetics, first tried to define what is tragedy. He says that tragedy is an imitation of an action which is serious and of a certain magnitude and which is complete also. And at the end, it arouses pity and fear along with catharsis. So, as noted by this critic, he says that Mourning becomes Electra is a tragedy in true sense. It is not his own individual sins the hero attends, but it is an original sin, the crime of existence itself. Mourning becomes Electra as a Greek tragedy. As it was also mentioned earlier that Mourning becomes Electra is a retelling of Oresteia, a trilogy written by Aeschylus. As Aeschylus has divided his work of art into three parts, similarly, Mourning becomes Electra by Eugene O'Neill, he has divided consciously the work of art into three parts. The Aeschylus works, in the Aeschylus works, the first part is named as Agamemnon, the second is Libation Bearers, and the third is Eumendius. Similarly, Mourning becomes Electra is divided into three parts, that is Homecoming, the Hunted, and the third one is Haunted. Eugene O'Neill intentionally changed the names and the sequence of events which served his purpose. The substitutions shown in the main characters resemble the dramatis persona of Aeschylus Orestia. Ezra Manon in this particular work closely resembles Agamemnon from Greek tragedy, and his wife Clytemnestra resembles this character. Is the resemblance of this in this character Christine. Electra is Lavinia Manon, and Oratus is Orin Manon. So the whole Manon family resembles the characters, classic characters from Aeschylus' work. Christine is far more venomous than Clytemnestra in this particular work. Lavinia tells Ezra explicitly, "You are the only man I shall ever love, and I am going to stay with you." According to Freudian hypothesis, each Manon is drawn by unconscious impulse towards the parent of opposite sex, and in Orin and Lavinia, the impulse has grown into fixation. Mourning becomes Electra as a modern tragedy. As it is set in 20th century England, it can be called a modern tragedy. It is written in prose rather than verse, in which the Greek tragedies were primarily written in verse, but this is written in prose. The characters are governed by their psychological fate, as well as instead of Trojan War, here is American Civil War. So it obviously depicts the era and aura of modern times. And Mourning Becomes Electra can be called a multi-era play because it has within it some aspect of 20th century thought. It is considered it has condensed philosophy and a plausible guide for individual embarking on a scholastic venture. So it is primarily a depiction of reality wherein we live. It can be said, to conclude, it can be said that Mourning Becomes Electra is a play which depicts a journey towards discovery. One dimension of this play is taking the audience on a venture to discover themselves and their inner selves, as well as to solve the psychological conflicts and the reality of the time. Here is one of the critics' statement wherein he observes that the play will be a catalyst to the pursuit of knowledge, for it has within the most direct psychic implications. So that's all for this day and this topic. For more information, you can visit Kavisha Alagiya blogspot.com, Mourning Becomes Electra as a Greek tragedy, and in this blog you will find a link to quiz. You can appear in the quiz and earn a really good creative certificate. All the best to you. Thank you and have a nice day.